I have no idea why I haven't bought mic yet, but today I'm excited to show you guys. It's been a while since I've done DIY, but I'm going to teach you guys and show you guys how to install an Injen air intake for a BMW 328 X-Drive. I bought this intake off of Amazon, I believe it was. I'll leave a link exactly where I got it in the description. It was about $300. I got it because it looks really nice in the engine bay. It gives a nice sound after you get off the gas. And yeah, I'm not even gonna say performance gains because the intake will add 5 horsepower, if not probably nothing, because the actual OEM intake that the Germans made is already so good. It's like upgrading it. You're probably just downgrading, but it's whatever. I like the way it looks, and I don't know, it's fun. An intake installation is really fun to do. It's really easy, so I'm going to show you guys how to do it. Before you get started, I would recommend to start up the car and just take some recordings of before revs just to hear if there's a difference at all, if you want. But I would recommend to do this on an engine that hasn't been started, because you just not want to deal with hot parts because you might burn your hands. So let your car sit for a little while, let it cool down if you are planning on installing this. The only tools you'll really need to do this install is a T15 Torx and a flathead screwdriver. The install is really easy. That's really all you need to do. And some cars come with this vacuum line and some cars don't, so you'll have to like connect the vacuum line to the pipe of the intake. The color I got for my pipe was chrome, like the shiny chrome. It's the only time I'm okay with chrome, actually, because I'm such a person who likes black. I almost said I'm such a black person. I am such a black person, like I love black, but I just would not put black in my engine bay because it looks cool chrome. I don't know. It's going to be covered anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I'll leave a link in the description to where I bought it from, by the way. So all you really need is a T15 and a flathead screwdriver and a little bit of patience. You'll be on your way. So I'm going to try and be as informative as possible because there really aren't any installation videos, DIYs for this intake for some reason, and the only dude who did make an intake didn't even do it in English. So what you want to do is remove this, this, and this. You need to remove it from, like, not from the car exactly, you just need to take it off because that's literally what's holding down the intake. So just gonna push these down and up and it'll come out, and then you'll see this vacuum line or whatever this is. Just clip it out. It comes right out. Clip it out. Clip it out. And you can just let that hang. It's not a big deal. Okay, and then the next step is to also take this out, but mine's already out for whatever reason. It's always been like that. So the next step would be to untighten this hose clamps, which is a flathead screwdriver, I believe, and then right below that is the mass airflow sensor that I was talking to you guys about. So you're going to use a flathead, loosen that up, and then you can pull the intake, the old OEM intake out. So what you want to do is use your flathead screwdriver and go ahead and loosen this clamp. Just a little bit. You don't have to spin it too much because it's going to be loose the second. Don't spin it too much because then it could just slip right off. You just want to loosen it a little, just so it could take the pipe off the other pipe. I don't even know what to call that. So go ahead and push this clip down, and then you can unplug the mass airflow sensor. I already did it. That's why it looks so effortless, but it actually isn't that effortless. You can go ahead and put that off to the side. Once you've got that disconnected, I'm pretty sure this will just come right out. Let me just place you guys off to the side. Okay, and before you start yanking on it, let me just remind you guys, you have to make sure you disconnect this vacuum line that I was talking about earlier. Just go ahead and yank on it, it'll come right off. If I can just get it. Sorry, it's hard to do with one hand, and it'll come right off. Make sure you keep your eye on that, you don't want to lose that. And then from here, you can just pull the old air box out. Oh man, this thing is dirty. Next step now is to go ahead and grab your flathead screwdriver and loosen that other hose clamps, and then that will allow us to pull this pipe off. For whatever reason, these caps stayed on. They actually sometimes come off, so if yours came and it's still on your air box, make sure you take that off, and then go ahead and take off this one as well, because we will be needing this for the new intake. And before we start that, let's just go ahead and put this old one right back where it was, and then go ahead and start to unscrew the mass airflow sensor off of the old airbox using your T15 Torx. I don't know why this is so dirty, but if you guys were wondering, you don't have to take this off. The new Injen Intake comes with one that is specifically made for it, so you can leave that one on your old airbox. Let's go ahead and take off this mass airflow sensor. we will be needing this in our new intake. Once you've gotten the screws off, just go ahead and pull your mass airflow sensor out. Give it some force because it's actually kind of hard to take off. Remember, you're going to have two hands, so it will be easier for you. I'm doing this all with one hand, but here's your mass airflow sensor, and go ahead and put that off to the side. Now we can loosen that hose clamp with our flathead screwdriver. Just make sure you hold on to this because you don't want this to fall. I doubt it will though, I'd be shocked. Before you yank this old intake out, before you start yanking that out, after you loosen the hose clamp, make sure you unclip this clip. I really wish I can put the camera under the car, but I really can't. But the best way to do it is just feel for a little clip thing, and you just pull it towards you and pull it down and it opens up. And it's like always gonna be like closing, so like you wanna pull it as you pull it up. This is gonna be hard to do with one hand, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the camera down and try it with two. Bear with me if I'm blocking the view. Once you've gotten that clip off, just go ahead and pull the intake out, and then you can put this aside. So go ahead and grab the part that looks like this, take it out of its packaging. Wow, this looks really nice. And go ahead and place this exactly where we took out the old stock one. Once you've gotten that on, go ahead and tighten that loose hose clamps. Once the pipe is on, you can go ahead and grab this thing and put it onto the pipe, and then we're basically done for this area for the time being. Alright guys, so I basically got stuck on this thing and how to fit this in that circle. Turns out that you actually have to cut it, so go ahead and put this on and then cut whatever the remainder is and then fit it on. Okay, so to figure out how much you have to cut, the point is to put it like this. It should go flat like that against this thing, should go along these this cutout. So it should go along the cutout and go in like that. But in order to do that, you have to know how much you have to cut, and the best way to do it is to put this in like this, in this direction, just to see how much is excess, and then however much is excess, cut a little less than that. So cut like that much, because you're better off having a little bit more than a little less. Once you've gotten it, it should look a little like this. I seem to have cut a little bit too much, so I'm gonna see if I can just cut one piece off of this and see if I can fit it in that. If not, that's not a huge deal, and that's basically how you do it. It's very tricky, this thing. I don't like the way they brought this whatever the hell this is. They should have just gave it cut properly to fit this. It's kind of inconvenient that we have to cut it. It's pretty bootleg, but I'll take it. Before we begin the next step, I just want to point out the grommet that was on the OEM box that I said to only take off two of them. We actually need the one on the third one, which is right here. We actually will need that. Mine's really messed up for some reason. My hands are disgusting from touching it. I have no idea what happened here, but the previous owner obviously did something. I don't know what it was, but make sure this is here, because the next thing that will go there is this, and this will go in here, and it will push down, and that's where your new airbox will sit. So this washer will stay in between the socket. Oh my god, I almost dropped it. What's it called? The bolt and the socket. So before we start test fitting stuff, I looked at the user manual that came with this, and it looks like this wasn't on it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and rip this off, because I guess you're supposed to. I mean, I don't know why we have to do this, but I guess we have to do this. It's really annoying. I feel like they should just mail it the way it is. Like, why do I have to do this? I have no idea, but just make sure you rip this off, I guess. I thought this was really going to be useful, but I guess not. Once you're done ripping that cushiony stuff off, go ahead and try and test fit this. So it looks as though that we are good and everything is fitted. Make sure you take this rubber grommet and push it into this thing first, and don't leave it on where it used to be like this. Do not leave it here. Actually pull it off and like push it up into this and make sure it's lined up, because then that's the only way. You don't want to be pushing down on the rubber with this. You want to, have it hooked up to this and just push it down onto the stud. Next step is to take this rubber grommet and push it through this rivet, and what it'll do is we'll have the vacuum line, which we disconnected here, cut through here and installed onto the pipe that came with the hole that came on the pipe. If your car doesn't have this, that means you can just skip this step, and you'll have a little cap that you'll put on top of the pipe. I'll show you guys how that works. So let's get this on. All right, once that's secure in there, just shake it out, shake it around a little, make sure it's good. Now what you do is take this vibra mount, is what they call it in the manual, and screw it in right here. And what this will do is hold the pipe and secure it. You guys will see in a sec. I actually ran into some fitment issues, so what I ended up realizing was that this is not supposed to come out this much how it was. It's supposed to actually just stay low, and then the pipe will just, you can only see the pipe, and then these hose clamps are supposed to stay below the air box, and then you tighten up the hose clamps once you bring that chrome pipe right there and install it straight into here. Fitment is going to be a little off and weird at first. You just got to kind of just like shimmy it around, and it should be good to go. So now the next step is to take that and install it into this, and then we'll take the air filter and install it onto the pipe. So let's do this. So go ahead and grab this pipe and push it in. And then once that's in, you can grab your vacuum line, push it through this hole, and place it onto this pipe. For those of you that don't have the vacuum line, this also comes with this little cap, and you place it right on here if you don't have it, but if you do, don't use this. Actually install the vacuum line onto the pipe. Go ahead and grab your washer and 10mm bolt and bolt on the housing of the air filter. Go ahead and do the same with this bolt right here. Before you start putting in your mass airflow sensor back, just try and take the filter cone and see if it fits well with everything. So it looks as though the cone fits pretty much perfectly, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten up the hose clamps, which is on the filter. I'll show you guys that right now. There you go. Go ahead and tighten that with your flathead screwdriver. It's nothing crazy, it's nothing we haven't done yet. We're almost done. So now you're going to take your mass airflow sensor and hold it like in this direction, and it only goes in one direction. And you want to put it straight in, and you see how it's not fitting. If it fits like this, just turn it over, take it out, flip it around, push it back in, and it should be good. I'd recommend actually doing this before putting this on. I was just kind of in a rush to see how fitment's working out for me, but I think we are good. Just squeeze this down, and it should be flat right there. And we're good to go, and we're going to take our T15s and tighten down the mass airflow sensor. And I went ahead and pushed in the rivets that came with it. You just have to push these in, and it'll hold the housing in place. Next step is to take the air intake cap, cover, housing, whatever you want to call it, unwrap this and put this on like this, and I'll show you guys right now. Once again, take this rubber thing off and then put it into this first. Learn from my mistakes, guys. Make sure the holes line up in the back, and then you're good to push down. And looks like all the holes are lining up. Now we can screw all the screws back in. I actually have no idea what type or what size this bolt is, so I'm just going to use a wrench to tighten these, but first I'm going to hand tighten them. I forgot to install the mass airflow sensor. So of course, plug in your mass airflow sensor. Make sure you hear a clip when you put it in, otherwise it's not in all the way. Now we are done. I'm so sorry. This was actually kind of confusing for some reason. It took me hours to do it too. It's also because I have to explain to the camera, but now we're going to go ahead and start the car and see how it sounds. We're just going to start it up, let it idle for a sec, and then I'll give it some revs. Let's hear this new intake. All right, let's listen to this new intake. I'm going to put a before and after as well. Wow, that is so loud. My neighbors are looking at me like I'm crazy because I've just made a huge mess and I'm just sitting here revving my car and I have a camera holding it to my face. Anyway, I love this intake. It sounds amazing. It sounds just like a blow-off valve, but not exactly. It's cool. I'm going to leave a link in the description where I bought it once again. I'm sorry for such a terrible DIY. I know I was just like messing up this was the hardest DIY I've ever had to do, and not because the install was hard, it was just because I was actually learning as I was going, and normally when I do a DIY, I do the research first, and I know how to do it. This one I was kind of unsure about because there's nowhere else on the internet on how to install it. I might remake this video later down the road if I need to get a new intake and do it much better. Anyway, guys, I'm super excited to use this, and I'm going to be having terrible fuel economy, not because of the air intake, but because I'm just going to be revving for no reason, just to hear the whoosh. You know, it just sounds awesome. I love that. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Take care. Peace out. Whoosh.